Today, in our very first prep talk, we're going to be making our own vanilla extract in our residential kitchen here in Nashville. I have 3 different kinds of beans that I'm going to be using today. Mexican vanilla beans, which are the only native vanilla beans in the world. I have Madagascar beans, and I also have Tahitian vanilla beans, of course. All beans that are not native to Mexico are cultivated from the orchids that are grown and hand-pollinated. One of the reasons why vanilla is so expensive is because of the intensive labor process that it has to go through to get it to your kitchen. So what we're going to do is we're going to extract the very height of flavor from all 3 of these different beans with 3 very different alcohols. Bourbon will bring out a smoky, sweet flavor in the bean. Vodka will bring out nothing. It will just enhance the flavor of the bean, since vodka is colorless, odorless, and tasteless when it comes to distilling. And then, of course, we have white rum here that has not been spiced, it's not been flavored. We're going to use that with our Madagascar beans. That will bring out an intense sweet flavor. So when we come back, I'll be set up to start with the Mexican vanilla beans with just the bourbon, and I'll show you how to prep the beans, get them in the bottles, and then get the alcohol in to begin what is a lengthy process with just inactive time. So very quick, very easy, and we'll get to our prep talk in just a moment. We're ready to begin infusing the alcohol with the vanilla bean. These are specialty Mexican vanilla beans that I got through Amazon, and unfortunately in the shipping process the vacuum pack came out on these, and I don't know how long they've been that way, but they are rock hard, which is not a problem as long as you inspect them and make sure that there is no mold anywhere on the bean. So you can see that they broke in shipment, which is not a big deal, especially when you're making extract. And I should also note that when you're buying beans for vanilla extract, you want to buy B grade. They are cheaper. They don't need to be plump and beautiful because we're using these just to distill, and they will eventually be strained and discarded. So it's just fine to use vanilla beans that are dried out like this, as long as they're B grade and ready to be put into the bottles. So this is kind of neat. These right here really broke at the halfway point, which is kind of helpful for me. So I don't think I'm going to be able to do it with these dry beans, which is not a problem, but these will need to be partially split. So you can see how hard and crunchy these are. So that's not going to work, but that'll be just fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break these beans in half, and I'm just going to put them straight down into these sterilized bottles. I'll have a link down below so you can see exactly which bottles these are for Amazon. They come in a 12-pack. They come with these handy funnels. And so now we have these vanilla beans inside the bottle. This is an 8-ounce bottle, and that's 35 grams of vanilla bean. Now, something that I want to talk about before I put the alcohol in is the actual alcohol itself. Now, this is just for our residential kitchen, so this may not matter to many of you, but there are stringent FDA rules about how much alcohol can be in vanilla extract to actually call it vanilla extract. It needs to be, for the FDA, a minimum of 35% proof, and this, of course, is 40% Jim Beam bourbon. And there are just stringent rules about how this can be done for retail sale. So what I'm about to show you will work just fine if you wanted to sell these in a farmer's market, as long as you have a license to do so. But there are, again, rules. So if you were making diluted alcohol concentrations and trying to pass it off as vanilla extract, you could possibly be committing a federal offense. So I know that's a long disclaimer, but so let's go ahead and get the alcohol in. It could not be any simpler. This is an 8-ounce bottle, so I'm just going to pour 8 ounces of bourbon. Like watching paint dry. Like sands through the hourglass, so is the extract of our lives. Almost there. So you want to make sure that the beans are completely submerged, which they are. A little bit of alcohol left there. I'll just finish that off. Cap it up. And then I've got a little label here. Obviously, this is on a Post-it note. I don't want to put a really pretty label on this yet. I just want to put a little Post-it note that says that that's my Mexican vanilla beans. I've got today's date on it. And after I get all of the extracts all in the bottles, then I'll talk a little bit more about what has to happen for the next step. But let's get moving with the next set of vanilla beans. We are ready to move on to the next batch of vanilla beans. The last ones, again, were dry, and I showed you how to take care of those. Now we're going to have some nice, moist, plump Madagascar vanilla beans. So these have been vacuum packed beautifully. They haven't released their seal, so they should be nice and flexible. And they are. Now let's take a look at these. Beautiful, beautiful. The intense smell of vanilla is just fantastic. Again, these are cultivated, so they're going to look pretty identical. Now, these are B grade, but you'd never know it. They are just absolutely fabulous to the point where it makes me wonder if they got these mixed up with A grade. But we're going to use them nonetheless. So what I'm going to do is, this is the light, unflavored rum. It's just been decanted. So let's get that. 8 ounces again, maybe a little bit more for me. That plugged back up. Now, this is how you prep fresh ones. So I'm going to split this bean in half, right down the center, and then I'm going to lightly cut it open, but I'm not going to really expose it. I want to leave it just lightly cut. You don't want to cut all the way through. And again, into a sterilized bottle. And I didn't do that one, so let's do this one. You don't want to cut all the way to the top of the bean. You want to make sure that that top crook on this end and this end stay attached, because if you split it all the way, the entire thing will rip open in the alcohol and it will begin to shed its fiber. And that is something we don't want. That could make for very cloudy vanilla. So let's do a smaller one here. We're going to cut this one in half again, holding it from the tip. We're just going to work our way down, and in it goes. Do another one. Okay. Now this was a 60-gram package of vanilla, so I'm going to save 4 of those vanilla beans, and that should give us right about what we need. So when we come back, I'll put the alcohol back in it while I prep the rest of these beans. Be back in a second. I'm on the very last half of a prep bean. I've got it split open. Oh, look at that. I lost a little bit of vanilla bean. And put that in. And then we've got our 8 ounces of rum. This is, again, light rum. And you want to make sure all of those beans are completely covered. Now, while this is going in, I want to talk a little bit about the proofs. As we talked about a few moments ago, the FDA says that all the alcohol in extracts must be a minimum of 35% proof. If for some reason you want to use alcohol you have on hand and you find that the alcohol is more than 100 proof, you'll need to dilute that alcohol at about a 50-50 dilution rate so that I've over-poured that a little bit, so that it doesn't burn the vanilla beans. So anything over 100 proof, if you put that just with the vanilla beans alone, you'll find that the alcohol, the high alcohol content, will start to burn right through the beans and you'll just end up with mush. So try to stick to anything between 35 and about 60 proof, with 40 being the sweet spot. So again, I've labeled Madagascar. I've got that in rum and today's date. I'm going to set that aside. and then the last one that we'll do will come up next. So when we come back, we'll finish off with the Tahitian vanilla. I've saved Tahitian vanilla for last, and there's a good reason why. This season is going to end with our final fantastic, great field trip voyage to Tahiti. But I wanted to get some Tahitian vanilla started now so that we'll be able to compare this with what we actually get from the fresh farms in Tahiti. So again, the exact same process as before. Yet another cultivated vanilla, and it looks virtually identical to the Madagascar, and it has a very different smell to it. It's hard to describe. The Madagascar vanilla smells like actual vanilla as you would think it would be. This has a robust, very strong flavor of vanilla. It doesn't smell artificial, but if you wanted to know what real good vanilla smells like, it would be this. It's woody, it's spicy, and it has such a complex flavor that you really don't want that to be watered down or flavored with anything else. Like the rum is going to give a sweet taste to the vanilla, and the bourbon is going to give a smoky taste. This is so expensive and so fabulous that we really don't want to corrupt the actual flavor. We just want to enhance it, and that's why we're going to use the vodka. It's prepped in the exact same way that we do the others. This is not as pliable as the Madagascar, but it's fantastic nonetheless. So we're going to do this, and again, this was a 70-gram package, so we need to reserve about 4 of the beans. So when I come back, I'll have all of these in the jar, and again, we will put the vodka in, and I'll show you that process in just a moment. All right, I'm on the last half of the last bean. Split it, not all the way through, and I didn't split the tail, and that goes in there. That's 35 grams of vanilla bean. And then we're going to put our Smirnoff unflavored vodka, 8 ounces. The perks. The perks of doing this. Put our little funnel in, and let's pay closer attention this time. Last time I overfilled it. There's really not much more to say about the process, and I talked about what the FDA rules are and what resale rules are, but I'm just going to be using this in our residential kitchen, and the process of getting this extracted is long, but you can see how simple and easy it is. And of course I did 3 different variety of beans, and you now know what the different notes are in each of the vanillas. So you can kind of pick and choose which ones you want to do, and obviously you can do all 3 if you want. It's pricey if you do all 3 at the same time, but if you just want to do Tahitian vanilla beans, you can pick up a 70-gram package for about $9.99, and you can get some Smirnoff vodka for about $7.99, and make yourself extract, 8 ounces. In the grocery store, 8 ounces of vanilla extract would probably cost you between $25 and $30. And for really good vanilla, you could spend upwards up to $50. I personally think that making it yourself is so simple, so easy. Like I said, it just takes time. So, made another label. And when we come back, I'll have all these lined up again, and I'll talk to you about the next step. All 3 of our extracted beans are prepped in the jars and have each corresponding alcohol that goes with it. And from here, they need to be stored in a cool, dry place. They're in amber glass, so these could actually stay out. Or if you were using clear glass, you can put it in a pantry, a cabinet, anywhere where it's not really going to be disturbed. However, There's just a little bit of prep work that needs to be done for this over the next 1 to 6 months, depending on how much flavor you want to extract. Roughly every 2 weeks, every 14 days or so, you just want to take the bottle and gently turn it over 1 time, 2 times. You want to do that for each one of these for up to 6 months, doing that every 2 weeks. The longer you go to the 6-month part, the more flavor you're going to impart into the extract. So it all depends on how intense you want your flavor profile to be. So what I like to do is I mark on a calendar. You can set an alert on your phone. I actually am old-fashioned, so I write everything on a calendar. And I'll mark 2 weeks from today that it's time to turn these over, and then I'll mark again 2 weeks out from that. From there, you have a very important decision to make. Do you want a light flavor or a more intense flavor? For me, the sweet spot is about a 3-month extraction process. After the 3-month mark, I will remove the beans and then I will filter the extract. The reason we do this is if you leave the beans in and the actual pod itself, it will just degrade and turn to mush, and then your extract will become very cloudy and the flavor will also go out of control. So if you were to say leave the pods in for say 8 months and then you go to use it in something very delicate like a custard or a brulee, the only thing that you would taste in that dish is the overpowering taste of vanilla. So for me, 3 months is the sweet spot, and what we'll do is we'll have a part 2 when it's time to strain it for another prep talk. I hope you enjoyed this very quick, very fast tutorial on how to extract the 3 different vanilla beans and the corresponding alcohols that go with them. So we'll see you for part 2 coming up in the future. Hope you enjoyed.